Welcome to the show. My guests today are John Salamone, the Chief Human Resources Officer at the Office of the Chief Administrative Officer for the U.S. House of Representatives, and Richard Capetto, the Chief Customer Officer, also with the Office of the Chief Administrative Officer in the U.S. House of Representatives. John, welcome to the discussion.
Thank you for having us, Jason.
And Rich, welcome to the discussion as well.
Thanks. Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Let me set just a little bit of context for our show today. Capitol Hill has been one of those places filled with two kinds of people, I'll say. The young, maybe the idealistic, go-getters. They want to get into politics. And we'll call the other person older, political junkies that got bit by the bug and never left. And then there's the members, the third kind of person. I think the incumbency rate last time I saw is something like 80 or 88% of members are reelected. The one constant among all these groups is the need to continually learn and gain new skill sets as technology and topics are constantly changing. The House Administrative Officer is charged with trying to help members, their staffs, and others, a total of 10,000 people, adapt, change, and continually be prepared for the future. And the CAO's Human Resources Department is trying to make members' lives easier by providing what I'll call shared services and tools. The office has been on a journey to modernize its processes over the last 3 years. It has a focus on customers, technology, tools, and of course, processes. Now, unlike many executive branch agencies, there's no one to mandate members use a specific service or a specific tool. So ensuring that the CAO is providing the resources that are valuable, cost-effective, and secure is really the only way to address some of these longstanding challenges. So with that context in place, let's turn to the panelists on how they're meeting their goals and what the future holds. Let's do some level set. John, let me start with you. How does the Office of the Chief Administrative Officer support lawmakers today in the training and the hiring and the whole kind of HR world?
It's a great question, Jason. Thank you. Again, it's a pleasure to be here. I think, just very briefly, the Chief Administrative Officer is one of the three officers of the House. It's the Chief Administrative Officer, the Sergeant at Arms, and the Clerk of the House. There's also a House IG. Our organization is about 700 people, and we provide administrative support to the House. Through finance, a finance department, IT department, we have logistics department, we have HR, human resources, we have information technology, and then Rich's group, also the customer experience center. And Rich will talk a little bit more about his department, but for the HR department, I have really a very interesting dynamic because most of my services are provided to the internal 700 CAO staff. So when you think about recruiting and hiring and labor relations, employee relations, performance management, we're providing those services to the 700 CAO staff to make sure that we are bringing the right talent in and managing the right talent to provide that support to the House. I also on my team have three organizations that provide forward-facing services to members. We run the Wounded Warrior Fellowship Program, where we place veterans in 2-year fellowships in member offices. I also have the Office of Employee Assistance, so EAP counselors that provide service to the 10,000 staff, including internal CAO staff. And we just recently stood up a wellness program for the House as well. It's about in its first 2 years of programming and really providing enhanced services to the House community through that through the Wellness Center as well. So really an interesting dynamic between internal services and external services, and really excited about how we're going to be growing over the next couple of years to provide services to the House community based on mandates passed by the Modernization Committee.
I want to bring Rich into the discussion in a second, but so your current focus from the HR perspective, the recruiting, the hiring and such, is just for the CAO staff, which is, I don't think anyone probably realizes how big that staff is.
Yeah, about 700, and over the last 2 years, 3 years really, we have an HR strategic plan that aligns with the CAO's overarching strategic plan. As a former executive director of the Chief Human Capital Officers Council and former staffer for Senator Voinovich, had a lot of activity and practices working on human capital management and human capital practices. And really, we are truly aligned with the mission of the organization and aligning our HR services to the mission. We've brought new technology in, and happy to talk about that a little bit more. Just ran our first engagement survey for the first time in 12 years and getting good data, good information on things that we need to be doing. really bringing a lot of workforce planning to the CAO organization, and really instituting a lot of best practices that we're really proud of. And I'm hoping we're one of the draws that the Modernization Committee paid attention to as they were standing up the requirements for the HR Hub.
And I know we'll talk a little bit about the Modernization Committee. I know there's a lot that still has to happen from them, and I know they submitted their final report recently. But let me bring Rich into this. Rich, let's talk about the customer center a little bit, and how you guys are really refocused to figure out, okay, how can you best serve the needs of those 700 people and maybe even the members more broadly.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you. In 2017, the CAO launched its first strategic plan in quite a while. And the four main goals of that strategic plan were a focus on customer, process, stewardship, and employee. And while John led mostly the employee section of that strategic plan, which has been critical in enabling us to meet the other four components of the strategy, my business unit, the Customer Experience Center, was stood up as a result of that strategic plan. And our job is to help make the services of the CAO easier to find, easier to obtain, and that we're meeting the needs of the members and their staff so that they can perform their constitutional duties. Members of Congress and their staff come to Capitol Hill to legislate, represent their constituents, and be the people's voice in the federal government. And so the more we can enable them to focus on those core tasks and not on administrative work, then that's the CAO vision, and that's what the Customer Experience Center has been tasked with doing. So just like John explained, we have a mix of internal functions and direct services to the 10,000 staff on Capitol Hill. Some of those include, we stood up a training department, which I'm sure we'll talk about quite a bit today, called the Congressional Staff Academy. We also consolidated some services under one umbrella called House Creative Services. That's a one-stop shop for graphic design, photography, and videography for members so that they can communicate the work that they're doing on Capitol Hill back to their constituents. We have a first call customer solutions center. So anything you need on Capitol Hill, you can call First Call and they will ensure that they'll fulfill the service that you need. And we also established a group called Customer Advocates, which are sort of like a senior account rep. So every member of Congress and their staff, each office has an assigned customer advocate that can, that their job is to inform them of services available, help them triage and obtain services, triage requests, and to troubleshoot, and also communicate back into the CAO organization what's working and not working to help recommend changes to services so that they best meet the needs of our customers, which are members of Congress and their staff. And then we also run the communications and marketing office, which is branding the CAO and its services in a way that our customers understand what those services are. You know, there's a lot of talented technical experts in the 700 staff that the CAO has. And a lot of times the service we're providing, we might use terminology or want to deliver it in a way that our customers might not understand. And so the communications and marketing office does a great job of partnering with each different business unit in the CAO to help tailor their offerings in the way we communicate about those to what makes sense for a congressional office so that they know what they can get and how to use it. And so, you know, John has been, and his HR department has been critical in helping us stand up the Customer Experience Center, and then in engaging in those best practices like performance management and having staffing plans so that we can best make our organization meet the member needs. And so it's been a real a journey and a real pleasure to try and tackle that challenge over the last 3 years.
A lot of going on under you, Rich, and obviously there's a need for it, which kind of brings me back around to this discussion around the customer solutions center. You basically have somebody to triage anybody's needs. Hey, you need some marketing, you need some communications, you need some graphics, you need whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Did that come from a request? Meaning, did you get members saying, "Oh, I didn't even know you guys provided those services," and then you had this aha moment, like maybe we need someone who focuses on these 10 members or these 12 members? Like, walk me through how that got stood up, because I think that then will take us down this path to talk about the training and the education and the HR side.
Yeah, so that realization came out through the strategic planning process. So there was a cross-functional strategy team that or the CAO stood up, and it involved people from all levels within the organization: frontline staff, mid-managers, senior managers, and across all of our different business units, from HR to logistics to acquisitions. And they spent a number of weeks doing a study on what is it that we need to do to make the CAO essential to all member offices. And they identified some capabilities of what the CAO must be able to do. One of the exercises we did was service searches. So our staff would go out, put themselves in the shoes of our customers, and try to obtain certain services. We also did some surveying, and that's exactly right, what you mentioned. We realized that staff and members weren't aware of some of the services that we offer. And in some cases, it was difficult to find out how to get the service. You know, was it this department or another department? So the idea of having someone, a business unit that focuses on that experience from when someone has the idea that they need something, to how they find it, obtain the service, all the way through the follow through, and did we meet their need? That came out of that strategic planning group. The idea of the customer experience center was put into a concept of operations, and then thankfully it was prioritized, funded, and we were asked to stand up the business unit. And it's been a partnership with all of our other business units. They've been they've embraced the idea. Everyone has seemed to understand the value, and of course, we wouldn't be able to do anything without those partners actually delivering the service. And so we rely on each other, and that's the only reason why it's been working. And the customer advocates was a sort of doubling down on that concept of one person that you can go to help navigate the services, and that's really what they've done. They've maintained deep long-term relationships with the customer, so we can have a good in with each office. And anytime we're changing or launching a new service, the customer advocates are the people that we go to make sure that information gets into the member office, because they've got those relationships, and it's a reliable contact with our customers.
Jason, this is John. I mean, I'll just jump in real quick and just, really commend Rich for the leadership that he's shown. I mean, anytime you need to stand up a brand new organization, it's really difficult. But the fact that we have, over 435 customers, very demanding customers, rightfully so, it's puts additional pressure on an organization. And Rich knows the house, and as a former house committee staffer, brings a lot of that experience. And I think the biggest thing that I've found very beneficial is his addition of customer advocates. So every month, his advocates go out and they're having constant communication with the members that they represent, the members that they're there to serve, and how they're aligned to serve those members. And as a chief, I get a briefing from Rich's team every month on what they're hearing from the customers in terms of, whether it's the IT services, whether it's the finance services, there's complete and total transparency. And any feedback that they have for me on the services from an HR standpoint that my team provides. Hey, we need to get more information out to the members about the Wounded Warrior Fellowship Program, or we've stood up through the wellness program a service called Life Care, and we need to be marketing that more to the member offices. So the customer advocates and Rich's organization in general, the Customer Experience Center, has been a tremendous boost to the CAO organization and to the services that we provide.
That's a great place to take a quick break. We're going to come back and jump into this actual use case of why we're having this conversation, but this gets us going. So let's take a quick break. You're listening to the discussion, How the House is Modernizing Its Human Capital Programs, sponsored by Cornerstone on Federal News Network.